Guys, welcome back to the channel, where we like to review stories that beautiful people like yourselves post on the internet. We got two stories for you today. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for refusing to wear a wig to my friend's wedding? Just a little background. I grew up in a very strict Christian family where I wasn't allowed to cut my hair, ever, because hair is a woman's crown. It was down to my knees by the time I escaped at 18. Ever since then, I've either had a pixie, a buzz cut, or have been totally bald. Because I cannot stand the heavy feeling of long hair, or all the brushing, washing, detangling after dealing with it for so many years. So, that's a big reason I'm so stubborn about this issue. Also, all of my friends involved in this story have always known me as the girl with no hair. Right now, I'm bald, because I always shave my head completely for the summer. One of my good friends is getting married in August, and she chose me to be one of the bridesmaids. Everything had been cool. She's always been the sweetest person, and she showed no signs of going Bridezilla before this, until she called me up about 3 weeks ago, and asked me if I could do her a favor and wear a wig to her wedding. She explained that she wanted all of her bridesmaids to match, and that she wanted us all to look good in the pictures. I told her I really didn't want to get a wig, and we've been on bad terms ever since. All of our friends are on her side, because it's just a wig, and it's not like she's asking you to grow out your hair for the wedding, so she's not being unreasonable. And I know I can be very stubborn sometimes, which I guess is the reason I'm posting here. The thing is, I don't know how many of you will be aware of this, but a wig that will actually look good or realistic is expensive. I have already paid for a bridesmaid's dress, new shoes, and plane tickets, as well as a small deposit for the person who is going to do our makeup. This wedding has already cost me a fortune. I could afford a wig if I wanted to, but do I really want to spend the money on something I'll never wear again when I've already spent a ton? Not really. Also, this is going to be on a plantation in Louisiana in August. I'm already going to be hot and uncomfortable, and a wig will make things 1,000 times worse. My biggest reason, and this is why my friends are saying I'm the a-hole, is the principle of the thing. I feel like it implies I look bad because I don't have hair, which I personally don't think it's true. Is being bald so hideous I'll ruin her pictures? Is she going to make her balding father wear a toupee? And I think I want us to match things stupid. We're already wearing matching dresses. Why isn't that enough? I know it's quote-unquote her day, and we're supposed to make her happy, but isn't there a line? I've offered to wear a cute headscarf as compromise if my bald head is that offensive, but she's not having it. I am still in the bridal party and invited, but I don't know for how much longer. Honestly, am I the a-hole for not wanting to wear a wig? Edit. Just to add 2 things. 1. She's not willing to pay or reimburse me for the wig, in part or in full. 2. Along with a headscarf, I would also be willing to grow my hair out into a pixie cut. The wedding is at the beginning of August, so it'd still be really short though. Not the a-hole. If she cares about you enough to ask you to stand up for her at her wedding, she should respect you and love you enough to let you be yourself. I don't understand why brides would want to see their friends looking like anything but the people they know and love in the pictures. If you don't conform, you may be asked to step down, but you should have an honest conversation with her and tell her you're offended. If someone asked me to change because I didn't fit with their look, I would wonder why they even asked me to begin with. She knew who you were when she asked you. Why would she want you to be anyone other than yourself when you stand as a witness for her? Not the a-hole, like the biggest one I could give. That's just a shitty friend. Wigs are expensive as hell, and if she's not willing to reimburse you for it, then she doesn't get a say. While this is her big day, it is also your comfort level, and, speaking as someone who can't handle long hair for similar reasons to yours, it's very disrespectful for her to push this on you. Not to mention a plantation wedding. Holy shit. I know you've already bought the dress and plane tickets, but I would give a serious thought to whether or not a friend like this is worth it. Reply. Yeah, I just want to say I don't support plantation weddings. I'm half black. My ancestors were slaves. I think they suck. But I didn't think her wanting one was malicious on her part. She's a Pinterest fanatic and probably just fell in love with the aesthetic. And I consider her a good friend, so I didn't say anything to her about it. Not the a-hole. I've had my head buzzed in a pixie cut, and if I were asked to wear a wig for any reason, I would have looked at the person like they grew another head. Not to mention that I think it's really creepy and unsettling when brides want their bridesmaids to quote-unquote match all the way down to hair and physical attributes. What if you were a different skin color? Also, she knew what you looked like when she asked you to be in her wedding. It's all bullshit, and to be honest, if something as petty as this damages your friendship with her, then she wasn't a great friend to begin with. Reply. This comment made me laugh, because I actually am a different skin color. I'm the only brown bridesmaid. So, first of all, thank you so much for your replies and advice. I'm writing an update post because things ended up working out well, and because I want people to see my friend isn't actually a horrible person like people were saying she was. I texted her, asking if we could work things out over a phone call. We don't live in the same state, so our relationship is over the phone and text. It turns out, a lot of you were right, and my friend was being pressured to ask me to wear a wig. Her future mother-in-law found out about my shaved head and pitched a fit. Like I said in a comment, my friend can be a huge pushover, and this woman is apparently a nightmare. She's also paying for the vast majority of the wedding, so my friend felt even more beholden to what she wanted. That's why she told me that she couldn't pay for the wig. Mother-in-law refused to. Neither of them knew how expensive a good wig can be. My friend only found out when I told her over the phone. That's also why our dresses, shoes, and makeup weren't covered. It turns out, my friend is mortified by what she sees as her mother-in-law, making her look cheap and greedy. But she didn't want to tell us that because she's already embarrassed to be relying on her mother-in-law's money. Apparently, it's her fiance's family insisting on a huge, extravagant wedding. That's why her reasons didn't ring true to me as well. She didn't want to hurt my feelings by telling me that her mother-in-law was being so judgmental of me. So she basically blurted out the first thing that came into her head. She assured me that she thinks I look great with short hair, and apologized for making me think that she thought I looked bad. I know people will question how I can believe her, but I've been friends with her for nearly 10 years, and I give her the benefit of the doubt. We've been there for each other through a lot, and really care about one another. I'm still side-eyeing the plantation wedding, but didn't tell her that because she seemed so stressed out by essentially being bullied by her fiance's family, I didn't want to pile on. I do know for a fact that she only wanted that venue for the big oak trees all over the property, which are admittedly beautiful. I went to the plantation's website, and they do acknowledge slavery evils and even have a memorial to everyone who was enslaved there, so that makes me feel slightly better. I did tell her that asking me as a mixed girl to wear a blonde wig could be seen as racially insensitive, and I explained why. She was horrified and apologized over and over sincerely. She wants to stand out from her bridesmaids in pictures, and she didn't even consider the racial implications of asking me because most of her bridesmaids are blonde. She's kind of oblivious to things like that. So are a lot of people. But the few times I've had to point out something she said could be hurtful, she's always been understanding instead of defensive. I decided I'm going to grow out my hair as much as possible for the wedding just to help her not get grief from her monster-in-law. It'd still be pretty short, so that's okay. She's fine with that too, except she was worried I'd still have to deal with snide remarks from her fiance's family. I reassured her that after nearly a decade with short hair, I've pretty much heard it all. By the time we hung up, I felt way better, not only about the wedding, but about our friendship. This is a great update. Weddings are stressful and I can empathize with being a bride. Still, if she's feeling this berated by her mother-in-law, I hope she's also confiding in her fiancé. Sucks that they're both allowing in-laws to make relationships sour over a single day. You sound like a good and supportive friend. I hope you have a wonderful time. And it's probably best for your mental health to just take everything she says and does with a grain of salt. At least until the wedding's over. It's such a high-pressure event, so it's not surprising that she's not entirely herself. Oblivious behavior will hopefully improve post-nuptials. Reply: while her fiancé is a really nice guy, from all the stories she's told, he kinda strikes me as a mama's boy. He's apparently stood up for her though, and thank you. I hope I do too. Though maybe I'll still use everyone's suggestions from the last post about what to do in NOLA if I have the time. The makeup isn't even being paid for? I hope they don't mind if you do your own makeup then. I'm sorry, I get that the mother-in-law is footing the bill, but your friend should bust out her own credit card if there are required expenses for the people in the wedding that mother-in-law refuses to pay for. Oh, poor me, I can't do anything about it because she's paying, only goes so far. Reply: yeah, we actually talked about that too. Her husband got promoted pretty recently and he got a bonus. So they want to reimburse the wedding party for stuff we bought ourselves because they feel bad. It sounds like she's going to need your support in the very near future, to be honest. She has a slightly bigger problem than her mother-in-law, her significant other. In one of your comments you mentioned that he has mama's boy tendencies. That's going to bring up more issues in the future. Guys, if you're enjoying this video so far and you want to be an a-hole to the like button, when you get them for your Secret Santa activity, buy them the most horrible and uncomfortable itchy sweater that you can find. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for changing the names of my babies? I, female 25, and my husband, H, male 29, are in the process of adopting 2 cute little twins that will be born in January. The biological mother is a young teenage girl, G, female 15, who doesn't want to keep them. She's the daughter of a friend of ours, and somehow it got through that we wanted to adopt, so her family called us as soon as they knew that G was pregnant. We've been with her all her pregnancy, and even if she doesn't want to be a mother, she will still be able to visit the twins as often as she wants, because we live in the same city. As soon as we found out about the baby, we began looking for names, and when it was confirmed that it was going to be twins, a girl and a boy, we decided on the names Ellie and Evan. Last week, however, we were informed that G had chosen names herself, Walter and Agnes. She didn't choose them because of a relative, just because she thought they sounded cool. I don't think I have to mention how outdated the names are, and H and I simply don't like them. But even if the names were great, they are still our babies. We will raise them. G said she never wants to visit them, although she will probably change her mind. We insist on naming them. They will also get our last name and legally be our children, which was decided and agreed on 5 months ago. G's family is upset with us for not accepting their real names and is threatening to look for new parents. Her sister told us that they're just bluffing and hoping for us to back off. TLDR. I want to give my children names and the bio mother wants different names. Edit. We are considering the name Ellie Agnes, but we will not name the boy Evan Walter. We are looking for a lawyer right now, and we do have everything in writing. They will become our legal children with no legal connection to G, her family, and their bio dad. Visitations only when H and I agree, which we are planning to do every time right now. We have talked to G's sister, and she told us that G begged her parents not to look for other couples, as she wants us as her baby's parents. She has been telling them that for the last few days. No idea why G's sister didn't tell us that before. Ellie's full name will be Eleanor to honor H's late sister, but we will call her Ellie. I will not respond to any more comments. Thank you all for your input. Everybody saying get lawyers involved seems to not understand that, in the States at least, birth mothers are allowed to change their mind until a certain amount of time after the birth. And if birth mom changes her mind for whatever reason, it's really effed up to try to get her to change it back. I don't know if I have an opinion one way or another. I just want to give my 2 cents on this issue because I think everybody saying contact a lawyer thinks you have legal ground, and I don't know that you do. Obviously talk to a lawyer, but be prepared that they may not be able to help you and you may not like their answer. NAH. I think you need to look at it from the bio mom's perspective. She is giving you a really big gift. Regardless of practicality, opportunities, and so forth, these are her babies. Naturally, she would want to give them a name. It's practically the only thing she will ever be able to give them. You will be the ones to comfort them. You will be the ones to cuddle them. You will be the ones there for every milestone. I understand hating the names, but I would try to either keep them as middle names or talk to her and see if you can come up with better names together. If there would be a dad involved and she was keeping the babies, she would also need to compromise. If you and your partner would disagree about what name you want, you would also need to compromise. So compromising might be your best solution. Regardless of the role she will play in their lives, she is carrying these babies for you for 9 months, and then she will have to go through delivery. It's not easy. You would be the a-hole if you go through with this without getting therapy for both yourselves and the biomom. The ethics around adoption are complicated, and you need someone that can help you navigate it in a way that creates the least amount of harm for those babies. They will have trauma regardless of what happens here, but you can minimize it if you're educated. If you get just a lawyer to file the paperwork and do no other work around this, you would be the a-hole. Get a trauma-informed therapist and have them help you navigate the naming issue along with everything else. Not the a-hole, but for the sake of everyone that has to interact with the kids in the future, please don't start both names with an E. There are multiple sets of twins that I interact with on a daily basis, and it can be extremely hard to keep them straight, as it is, identical, and to make it worse, both the names start with the same letter. Most of them hate that their name isn't even unique from their twin because, ooh, matching is so cute. My husband and I sat down with G and talked to her for a long time. We apologized to her, saying that if we wanted an open adoption, we needed to all work together. She told us, as many Redditors commented, and as we also thought, that it wasn't her idea to push the name. She apparently chose the names to say goodbye for what could have possibly been, wrote them down in her diary, and her mother found them. We talked to her for a while about the implications of adoption and asked if that's really what she wants, and she agreed. She's not in the right place to have a baby, let alone 2, and raising them would not be in anyone's best interest. She said she doesn't want to be a mother, but thinks that it's best for the twins to know her, and she will visit occasionally, maybe once every 2 weeks or more often. G wants to be introduced to the twins as Yimo. Lit means aunt, but is also a title used to refer to any girl 1 or 2 generations above you. We discussed our possibilities and agreed that her family being in the life of the twins was not good for their development. The main point of the initial post was the naming issue. H and I agreed that we were being inconsiderate and unintentionally harming the twins. As many adoptees have told us in the comments, they love their names given to them by their bio parents. We thought that it was best to name them together, as we will be their parents, but G will still be a prominent figure in their lives. We have decided on the names Alice Eleanor. Alice because it's cute and classy, Eleanor to honor H's late sister, and Finn Alexander. Finn chosen by G because of a Star Wars character, Alexander because it was on both our top 5 names list. Their Korean names will be decided by a naming expert after their birth, and we 3 will, again, choose the names together. After the first conversation with G about her decision to adopt, we 3 sat down with her parents and talked about our boundaries. They considered the babies to be shameful and would, quote, rather die than accept them as our own blood. Therefore, they will not be a part of their lives. They argued for a short while, but then agreed that it's for the best. When the babies are old enough to decide if they want to meet them, they can, but we don't think they would be a good influence at the time. For the people who asked about the biodad, he also understands the implications of adoption and is okay with it. He does not wish to know the twins and doesn't want us to tell them who he is. Lastly, for the journalist who copied my story and pasted it onto her website, I do not mind if you share my story, but at least ask or even tell me first. If you want to take this story too, DM me first. Edit. For all the people telling me that quote-unquote naming experts don't exist and therefore I must be lying, I'm half Korean. My husband is Korean. The twins will grow up in Korea. Therefore, we're following the Korean tradition of going to a person that happens to be called naming expert. They pick out a list of about 20 names. It has to do with astrology, shamanism, name mixing, and many more things. It's a thing in many Asian countries. From my personal experience, at least in Korea and Japan, and as other Redditors have commented, also in India and China. Wishing OP all the best, but I think this is all likely to go super wonky later on. You're letting Biomom have way too much of a say, and too much of an input really. You're moving Eleanor to a middle name for bio's sake, when it was to honor your husband's dead sister? Surely husband as their dad should get more say. This is an adoption, not a babysitting service. There's a reason why at birth open adoptions usually only have updates once or twice a year with a picture. You've essentially introduced a third parent with the scheme. One argument in 5 or 10 years, and it's all going to belly up. Bio is going to grow up sometime and be in a space where she can support kids. If she has a relationship with the twins, an attachment that's built up over the years of basically being a third wheel to your family, I'm convinced she'll ask for them back. That's a great update. I'm glad you all sat down and that you decided that the toxic sounding parents won't be grandparents. They sound pretty high-strung. A friend gave you a baby and kept in touch with the family. They had a couple of vacation-style meetups, and she would visit when she was in state. At the time, my friend traveled a lot. Her parents would visit and get to be grandparents to her child and the older brother too. It worked out pretty well for them, but the adoptive mom was really good at laying down boundaries and making sure everyone had the kid's best interest in mind. Glad you guys were able to talk things out. Biodad is welcome to not be involved, but keeping his identity a secret is unreasonable. The kids deserve to have the info of who their biological father is, if they request it. Visiting every 2 weeks or more also just sounds kind of impractical for a busy young family, and potentially for Biomom, as she gets older and busier too. Definitely keep that visiting frequency flexible for what ends up actually working out for everyone involved. Guys, that's it for today's stories. Thank you very much for listening. Please remember to smash that like button for me, and subscribe to our channel to keep listening to these stories. Again guys, thank you for all of your support. We will be seeing you in the next one.